just in time.
I have already previewed
and we're
mine.
live.
But what is this? What is this? The internet? Who
The
knows?
internet
Who knows
is
of the
live
internet?
right now.
Hello.
Hey, I have beef
Are we
with
live?
you.
Yes,
Can we start
live.
this? Can we get into it
Are
right
we
now?
live? You're not. I'm not.
Oh, we're
seeing,
doing beef already?
I mean,
Oh, it says. Wait. Oh, I'm seeing it live. Okay.
I just
cool.
hadn't refreshed
we
my
are live.
page.
Yeah. Hey. You know what? I love podcast beef.
Yes.
Bring it.
So when I was sitting here this morning, it's not really beef. I just want to
You
call
were
you out
sitting
for
here?
something. I was sitting here and I
Okay.
was watching you update your Intel drivers.
Yes.
And when you clicked through the thing, which
Yes.
you shouldn't have ever seen because they should just do it automatically in the background. You shouldn't have
I didn't
click
read the
buttons.
EULA. No, I don't care.
No, nobody cares about that. You clicked typical instead of custom. When
Okay.
it was like, hey, what kind of install do you want? You just said, just give me the typical one.
I don't know if
Are you a
I've
typical user?
Yeah,
Adam?
I don't know if you've seen me, but I look pretty typical. If you saw me on the street, you'd be like, that guy's pretty typical.
I don't think I thought of you as more an atypical user.
Actually, we were. I was talking with Willis. I'm pointing at producer Willis over there. We were talking in the car about grades.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm okay getting C's because look at me. I'm average. I'm an average.
You're pretty
dude.
tall.
I know, but
You
for
have
the
high
most
hair.
part, I'm pretty average. So I'm okay with a C.
Wow.
So
Look. Somebody smart once told me that everything I do should be better than everything I've ever done in the past, which was incredibly psychologically damaging. But it turns out,
I would say we're always changing and evolving. Sometimes going forward, sometimes going back. It's it's life. It's a journey. We're here.
Yeah.
Kind of like this podcast. It's a journey. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome everybody.
Hello.
We're here. We're here to talk about GPUs. We have a lot of GPUs around. Just for fun.
So many GPUs. I'm glad just to have a break from writing about GPUs for an hour or two.
Hey guys, guess what? New GPUs just around the corner.
Yeah.
We've got 9 series, we've got 8 series, we've got 7 series. My math says that there's at least 1 or maybe 2 more series to come.
Yeah.
Oh,
Series.
Series
math.
Yeah. Anyway, we're here to talk about GPUs. It's going to be a fun time. Sorry, I'm getting messages on the on Teams over
Can I
there.
talk about a piece of news?
Oh yes,
relevant
please.
To the Bay Area, or should I wait till after the intro?
Oh, this seems like real content.
Oh, okay, I'll wait.
Where
You just talk about it.
is it? Okay, where's it going to be?
It's Santa Clara.
Santa Clara.
It's
I don't have to drive across the bridge to get there.
it's by the Apple campus, right?
what are you guys actually talking about?
Yeah.
Sorry, it's all Bay Area people talking secret code. So for all of you listening to us during the pre-show, got a bit of news, maybe not as detailed as everyone would
Breaking
like.
news.
Breaking news. Micro Center is opening a new location. We've known this for a while in the Bay Area, but we've been waiting to see when they're going to open. And our colleague Mark Hoffman got in touch with Micro Center this morning, and they said, still planning for May.
Is this
And
a hot
we were
scoop?
like, oh, that's new. We didn't know it was May.
Oh. Hot scoops.
We knew it was
I
coming
would
up.
love to go to. I've never been to a micro
Neither
center.
have I.
Still
Oh,
doesn't
it's so
matter
good.
about me.
I've never even
So
seen
good.
one.
So the news story is on PCWorld. Obviously, we love it if you will look at our articles, give us a little traffic love. But I will admit, in full honesty, it's pretty much, hey, this is the month that we think that they said they're going to open. And then the rest of the words, just me talking about why Micro Center is great.
Well, I mean, Elena, as somebody who's never been to a micro center and used to go to Fry's and be kind of disappointed, horrified, and impressed, like,
Yeah.
what, like I used to love CompUSA too. Like back in the 90s, CompUSA was amazing. You go in there, you could buy a case. It was really cool.
Okay, do you want the grown-up description of this, or do you want the funny, we're still like teenagers version of this?
I vaguely remember what being a teenager felt like, but so yeah, start with that one and then go to the other one.
So the difference between Fry's and Micro Center is that Micro Center doesn't have the sad, awkward aisle, specific DVD aisle that I think you know I'm talking about.
The one with all the jerky and DVDs.
With
Beef jerky? Are you
The one in
referring
Santa
to-
Clara had beef jerky, like boatloads of different kinds of beef jerky, and then there
No,
was
no, I
some
said DVDs.
specialized DVDs
No.
further back there. It was like the front half was gum and jerky, and then the back half was
I don't know what we're talking about here.
DVDs.
Well, I guess for people who may not be picking up on Will's illusion here. Let's just say that it's a very adult section of the DVDs collection, and they actually had to have people standing guard there because I guess people would try. Yes, I've been to Fry's where they had people who would just like walk by every so often just to make sure no one was like, taking on something they shouldn't be without paying for it. There is not that.
Do they have that like behind a curtain in Micro Center? Is it like in a special room in the back?
I don't think they have it. I just don't think they have it.
Answer.
That's my understanding. So it's a classy grown-up joint, right? It's very professional. It's very polished. What I loved most is here's the key difference between Micro Center and Fry's. And most of the people listening won't know this as an life experience, but let me tell you. I know how good a store is if I walk into the store and I walk into the component section and they say, "Can I help you?" And I say, "I'm looking for this RAM," or "I'm looking for this CPU," or "Do you have motherboards with this chipset?" And they either say, "Yeah, I have that in stock. Let me get that for you." Or they ask me if I'm sure I know what I want. Fry's is the latter. Central Computer and Micro Center is the former.
Yeah, I love Central.
So they are A+ professional. I love going there.
Central is always like, sometimes it's a little hard to get somebody to talk to you there because they're busy, but Central's usually pretty good.
But they're professional. I love it.
Fry's always had a seediness to it. It felt like
it's so weird. Like their theming was really interesting. Like I did think it was kind of wild that every store had its own. The one I remember most is like the rodeo one. Well, I don't remember which location that was, but there was very over the top rodeo theme. But everything else I could kind of take it or leave. There was one time I went to a Fry's. I was with a colleague at the time, and I was looking for a power supply. And I walked down the aisle and I say, "Hey, do you have a power supply this wattage, preferably like semi-modular, full modular?" And the guy like directs all his answers to my male colleague standing next to me, and my colleague is like inching further and further away from me to try to like make it very clear, like, "Yo, she's asking you the questions, not me." And then finally he's just like, "Dude, she's the one asking the questions, not me." And I'm like, yeah.
The weirdest Fry's experience I ever had was going to Fry's that weren't like Bay Area ones, that were new ones. Because when they expanded before they got parted out and sold, they had like Fry's in Austin and Phoenix and LA. And I was in, I think, Austin for work stuff when I was doing the VR stuff. And I needed one of our computers conked out and I needed to go buy some actual components. So I went to Fry's and it was nice. And it was so unsettling because it was like well lit. It wasn't like weird fluorescent lighting. It had like skylights and it was
really?
Like everything was clean. It wasn't all
Did
just
they have
like
cages,
jumbled shelves. It was so weird. It was like Best Buy, but less washing machines. I mean, they had washing machines in there too. I don't know.
Yeah, but the proportions are different.
Yeah. It felt like, you know how when you play a video game sometimes and like they get the scale a little bit off and just everything seems like it's kind of, or you open the FOV too much and everything seems like you're walking down a long tunnel. It kind of felt like that. It felt like I was in Canada, but it was in America. You know what I mean? I felt
it was too nice.
Everybody was speaking English.
It was too nice.
But like people were kind to me and they didn't have the porn aisle there. So yeah, it was weird.
This episode's sponsored by Fry's.
We love Canada, Lewis, just for the record.
You know Fry's is still around.
No.
Also,
no, it's not. It's shut down.
It's gone. They're all gone.
Fry's is still around.
I think the grocery store might still be open because that's like a separate branch that was owned by the same company, I think.
Yeah, it was the same family and they split off.
I don't think the electronic stores are a thing anymore. I think they all closed.
Yeah, the electronic stores all closed. The grocery stores actually was always a good grocery store too. I remember not knowing that they were at one point part of the same family company, whatever, and being like, huh, that's weird that the grocery store Fry's logo looks exactly like the electronic store Fry's.
I had
that's got to be a
coincidence.
coincidence,
The first time I went to Phoenix.
Yeah, weird.
Wait, so they're both called Fry's?
Yeah.
Fry's Grocery and Fry's Electronics.
Fry's Electronics.
Yeah. I think the grocery store is just called Fry's.
Yeah. Your Best Buys are always at Fry's. That's what I was like, is that a dig against Best Buy? And it absolutely was.
Now I just want Fry's. Circuit City, man. It was like a big plug in the front.
Did you?
I stole a lot of CDs from Circuit City.
Jesus,
yeah,
man.
It's okay. Statute of limitations.
Stealing music.
Hey,
nobody.
This is back in the 90s. You know.
Wow, he waited for the statute of limitations to expire, and now he's being honest. All right.
They're like the rest of us weren't on Napster like crazy in 2003. Actually, stealing music the old-fashioned way.
What else happened?
The first CD I remember stealing from Circuit City was Biohazard.
Oh, that's
yeah.
terrible. You stole bad music too.
Well, but that was the good. I'm glad I didn't pay for it actually, because then
No.
I listened to it and I was like,
Pay
yeah,
artists.
I wasn't.
or pay the labels. That anyway, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Before I forget, Will, I will say the proportions are also different. So they have I feel like they have, Micro Center has way more PC components.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
and they're very nicely organized. You remember how you were saying about fries feeling a little bit seedy?
Yeah.
Because it always had that kind of jumbled, not quite organized feel to it. Micro Center always feels so clean and so organized. And if you talk to the salespeople, they're very knowledgeable, they're very friendly. Yeah, I really like Micro Center.
One of the things about Fry's is they wouldn't hold stuff for you. So if you thought you might have to come back and get something the next day, instead of like taking it up and be like, hey, can you hold this for me until tomorrow? I'll come back and get it then. You just took it to a different section someplace and like jammed it in a freezer way back in the middle of nowhere where nobody would find it.
Or you just hide it like in the back of like the freaking like laptop section or something.
Yeah, put it like way back on the back of it. You'd always find some weird stuff way back in the back of a shelf because everybody did that.
Yeah.
We did a couple of features at Fry's without asking. Like once we asked permission, they were like, "No, we absolutely don't want you in our stores shooting video."
Yeah.
So then we just did it and brought small cameras and did it casually. But the best one was where we pit Gordon against our associate editor and gave them both like $500, which was at the time was nowhere near enough money to buy a real PC. And they got done. I'll dig up.
I kind of remember this.
I'll dig up it's on Google Books, the article, but it was Dave Murphy was the editor, and Gordon like plotted his whole thing out and budgeted it really well and was like really shockingly organized for Gordon. And like he went in with a plan. Yeah. And then when he got to the checkout, he was like, "Oh, I have an extra $40. What can I?" And he pulled back and he went back and bought some other stuff. Murphy did the exact same thing, but he forgot to put a case in.
Yes.
So he had to build it in the cardboard box.
Okay, yeah, I was about to say, I
Yeah.
was like, that sounded so familiar.
This is
Yep, the cardboard box.
Dave actually, Dave wrote in about that for Gordon's
that's right.
Wiki post.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to read the article, we actually link to it right in there.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also
it was
on
very
Google
good.
Books or some Scholar or one of the archive type things. So if you search for it, you can actually find a PDF scan of that issue if you want to read the article in all its glory. And it is actually quite glorious. I recommend it. It's hilarious.
It was very good. And you can hear Gordon, now that you know Gordon's voice from all the stuff you all did here and the podcast and everything, like you can hear him yelling at Murphy the entire time.
Absolutely hear him.
He was profoundly upset that he didn't buy a case. He was like, "This is a complete cop out. It's complete BS. Blah 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 blah." It was very good. And all the PDFs are in our archive as well, Zev. That's right. We uploaded. We had a PDF archive of the magazine, so you could just download the entire magazine because once it was off the newsstands, it was nobody was buying it.
Love it.
Yeah,
love it. All right. We need to start.
We
the
should
show.
make a real podcast here.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I love the pre-show. There's people who love tune in and say the pre-show is the best show. For
That's
sure.
what my mother says. She watches the pre-show and then she leaves. When we start
That's it.
All right. Well, yeah. I was.
Shout out to
What
Brad's
do we
mom.
call the pre-show of the actual show though? After the intro.
The intro.
Yeah.
It's still
and then
intro.
it's just banter.
I have an intro topic.
Well, but okay, so I have an intro topic as well. So let me burn this in the
Okay.
pre-show,
Okay.
the actual pre-show for all you fun people. I have a funny story. So, when was this? I guess Sunday maybe. My wife Lindsay and I were sitting around talking about stuff, and I made a casual joke about how like. I think she was like, "Oh yeah, did you see the news?" And I was like, "I know, I heard the big news about John Cena. It's like shaking the world of wrestling. It's crazy." And my
I like to hear about this too.
well, I'm not I'm not a
containment.
I know I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not a wrestling person.
Sure you're not.
Yeah, I was just aware of it, and Lindsay looked at me and she's like, "Oh yeah, something about his foot, right? Like his toes or something?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "Yeah, he did a move with his foot." And I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And she quickly pulled up Reddit and she's like, "Oh yeah, heel turn." She thought it was a move.
Cute.
And
So
I was like,
this is very good.
that's pretty good. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so now I just think of John Cena's toes. Yeah. So
Poor heel.
TMI.
I did ask her. She gave me permission to say this story. But with the caveat.
Wonderful.
With the caveat saying that she never liked John Cena. So yeah,
She
was
always
never
knew
a Cena
something
fan.
was off about him.
Yeah, she always knew. And now we all know that he's a big heel. I don't know why. Is it lead up to WrestleMania? Is that what's going on? I'm not a wrestler.
I mean,
Yeah.
We talked about this on.
I'm going to incite a little violence here, and I'm just going to say that I'm fully aware that wrestling is just soap operas for guys or people, I should say, who like sweaty people with broad chests and not very much clothing. So if it's a soap opera, it could also be that he's turning to turn again. So we'll just have to see how it goes.
So he'll come back to being babyface again.
What I've been told by people who are in the know. Is that this is all to fix a bad Rock heel turn that nobody liked last year.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. And like they bring in Cena and he's the fixer. But he kicked that guy in the groin real hard after making a real stinky face.
I didn't watch it. I just thought it was funny. Yeah.
New meme just
My main opinion here is John Cena needs to shave his head.
I mean, or do something.
Okay.
Yeah. Hot takes.
Also, Elena, you just shattered poor Kelt from Falcon Northwest. He said, wrestling's fake? Next thing you're going to tell me is that frames are fake too?
No. All frames are real.
All frames are real.
You might want to have a support plushie with you, Kelt, for the rest of this episode.
We're going to be talking about GP stuff. All right, let's get the show rolling. How the hamsters are
The hamsters
Good
are
hamsters?
running.
All right.
Everything's running.
Cool. Then yeah, let's go. We ready here? We ready? Yep. I'm hand wringing already. I'm getting my hands ringed. Here we go. I'm ready. Put me in, coach.
Go for it.
In this episode of The Full Nerd, we talk about the 5070 and the upcoming, I'm just pointing in the general direction, of 9070s. I didn't even write it. That's why it wasn't that good. Yeah.
Nailed it.
And welcome, everyone, to episode 338 of the Full Nerd Podcast, PCWorld's premier podcast about PC building news. I am your fill-in host, Adam Patrick Murray. We got a rousing episode here today, but I'm not alone to do it. That would be a weird episode if I was just sitting here alone. I don't think I'd like it. So luckily, on the line, I have one Brad Charkis, he's here. He's feeling better. Are you feeling better? Actually, I should ask you.
I'm mostly getting there. I'm still a little raspy for y'all's listening pleasure, but
you got your radio voice on.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
And
I like it. Speaking of radio voices, Elena Yee. Hello.
Oh.
Okay. A good radio voice. I like it. Here we go. Will Smith. This is your first time on radio, right?
Yeah. Welcome. Hi. Hello.
Yeah.
It's good to have you here, Adam.
Welcome to the podcast. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'm really thrilled to be here. This is my radio voice.
Oh, that's
just
great.
bring it on down low.
I don't know if I've ever heard Willis Sly, who's controlling verticals and horizontals, his radio voice.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, that's just ASMR.
Oh.
Hello, everyone. Good to see you. This is
I like it.
Voice.
We're here to talk about GPUs. We got a lot of GPUs to talk about. One of them we actually reviewed. We have some content, on the various sites. We'll get to that. We got news about upcoming GPUs. We'll get to that. But before that, I do want to point out a couple things real quick. I have started to send out invites for Gordon's Celebration of Life that's going to be happening March 29th. If you are in the industry and you would like to be invited, please email me. Actually, Brad, your email's on the Gordon Memorial post, correct?
Yeah.
So you can email Brad. That is, if you don't, I mean, you should have access to somebody at PC World's information. If not, go to that Gordon's Memorial post. Brad's got his email over there.
I'm bchacos at pcworld.com.
Cool.
So
yeah.
Please be nice, y'all.
I believe I've reached out to a lot of people so far, but my net only casts so far and wide. It is invite only, but please email me if I did not catch you. This is not going to be open to the public. But yeah, so I just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. It's going to be a fun time. We're talking about the festivities that we're going to have to celebrate Gordon. We got some speakers. We actually there's a gentleman here in the Bay Area who runs a pop-up called Retro Roadshow. Are you familiar with him? Yeah. He's going to be there. He's going to have classic PC hardware. Put up and kind of timeline with Gordon's coverage of stuff.
Oh, that's fun.
We're also going to bring some actual like hardware museum stuff from our archive to have like a little Gordon museum kind of set up.
I love it.
Fun stuff. It's going to be a good time, a good celebration had by all. I am also having plans for the people who can't go, because obviously this is not an open to the public event. We're also not live streaming it, but I am going to be gathering videos there. I'm going to be asking people to send in videos of like favorite memories, and then we put together some sort of big, celebration stuff. I mean, listen, we're not going to stop celebrating Gordon. This is, we've actually talked on the back end of should we rename this to Gordon Maung's the full nerd? So yeah, we'll continue to celebrate Gordon, but the next major milestone of celebrating Gordon is March 29th. So it'll be a fun time. Good times. You know what else is a good time?
What's a good time?
Your story.
I've got.
Yeah, I don't even know what your story is. So
this is for Bay Area folks. I apologize. It's a little bit niche.
So tune out.
It's a little bit niche, but it's this weekend is the first San Francisco Bay Area electronics flea market.
Oh, I really want to go.
What?
Yeah, they do it. Well, they do it every. They do it the spring and summer. It's the second Sunday of each month, except for I think May. They do it the third because of Mother's Day. And it starts at 6 a.m. It goes until noon. It's at West Valley College in Saratoga, California, which is down south a little bit, down in the peninsula. And so I've been told that this first one is the best one of the year because people build stock all winter.
Okay, well then, I need to message Lindsay. We got to go to that.
But yeah, it's pretty remarkable. I think it's supposed to rain, so I'm probably going to be there.
Do they put up coverings or anything?
Everybody brings their own tent, so they literally take over a parking lot at this community college, and it's like 5 or 6 rows of parking spaces filled with old computer stuff, and it ranges from like, there's one vendor that comes every time that has just a bunch of old laptops like Lenovo ThinkPads and MacBooks and like HPs and Dell XPS machines, ranging from like 2010 to current. Then there's like old console people. There's usually a couple people that have just like a bunch of oscilloscopes, and like there's always some guy with like a thing with just a whole bunch of knobs. You don't exactly know what it is. There's ham radio people.
Knobs feel good.
There's last time I was there, I met somebody whose parents worked for Quantum, making Fireball hard drives in the factory in the valley for a long time, and they had just boxes and boxes of those old 5 1/4 inch like 10. I guess they were 100 megabyte hard drives or something. They were anyway. It's if you're into this. Last time the only thing I've ever bought there is like Captain Tape and then some cables. But it's always fun to walk around and look at stuff.
Fun to poke around.
Yeah, it's fun to poke around.
I
and
know.
You might see something.
I'm jealous. I really want to go this Sunday. Okay, but the problem is down in the South Bay.
It's down in the South Bay. It's a little bit of a haul.
Way past San Jose,
especially at 6 a.m. Ugh.
It's not. No, it's like on between. It's like before Los Gatos. Yeah.
Adam, you wake up at 6 a.m. I know who wakes
Sundays.
you up. Yeah,
I'll stay up late. I think we should stay up late. I think we should pull an all-nighter. We camp out. Yeah. We'll start a line. We'll be like, this is a line for the brand new 5070s, right?
Look, they sell. It's free to people who attend. You can just walk. Like if you're there to buy, you can just walk around. They sell donuts and coffee.
Oh, okay. Well, if they've got donuts, that's all you need to say. Come on. You should have led with that.
Yeah.
You buried the lead.
Look, they're good donuts, too.
I
love how your tone of voice implied that it's not free for other people.
Well, if you're selling, then you have to pay them.
Of course. I mean, if you're a vendor, but
if
it was just like something about the lilt of your voice that I was like, so what other class of people are there besides?
Well, there's people who are selling and people who are buying. There's two types of people, Elena, clearly.
Okay. There are also 2 types of people who want to buy GPUs and people who don't. And we got the hottest new GPU on the market that we can talk about. The GeForce GTX Titan X, the original Titan X.
Is that the 1080 Titan or is that
Wait, is this the P? Lowercase P. Yes, it's the lowercase P.
Titan.
Yes. So, just kidding. Yeah, sorry, one more thing before we actually start the show. I was like, I can't remember what got us started, but I was like, wait, oh no, I have a system over here that used to be our VR rig that has been sitting there untouched for probably like 5+ years, and I was like, I think that thing had a 1080 Ti, the greatest of all time video card.
Because you went and bought a 1080 Ti on eBay.
On eBay, yeah. And I was like, man, I could have swore we had one in there. Lo and behold, I opened it up, and boom, it's something even better that we also didn't have in our collection, the Titan. Yeah. Do you remember covering this one, Brad? So this is the 9 series
Black one.
Titan.
Yeah, I think I got sent that one. I think that was the last one they sent to consumer reviewers for the Titans.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's like it looks really cool, but then I clicked on it and I was like, oh, that's a plastic shroud. Oh.
Yeah, I was just thinking of that looking at the backside of it from my angle. It doesn't have the back plate. Like it's all plastic.
Yeah.
Like graphics cards are a lot nicer now than they used to
We've
be.
come a
That was
long
the
way.
cream of the crop back then.
Look, the board. There's no holes in the board for air to go through. How does this thing even?
Yeah,
say
no
cool?
flow through design. This is a blower design.
Yeah, something blowers.
Yeah. It also had one 8-pin and one 6-pin for power. Also, this little connector over here for SLI. So if I had another Titan, I could just throw it in there. That's right. You get 2 GPUs. And then you double the performance, right?
That's not really how it worked.
That's how I thought that's how it worked back then.
Asterisk. There's a giant asterisk there because it doesn't work in most games.
No potential driver issues. Not at all.
Not at all.
I remember when the Radeon 480 came out, I think it was, Raja Kaduri did his announcement for it was, hey, if you SLI or Crossfire 4 of these, it beats a 1080 Ti.
Oh.
Cool.
Do you remember the ATI cards that had 2 GPUs on them? It was like Crossfire built into the board, and it was all the best. It was all the worst parts of a single card design and a dual card design in one card.
We have one of those.
Yeah, those were best
we should
cards.
load it up. We should play games on it. Oh, you know what it has that the 50 series doesn't have, that this brand new shiny 50 series doesn't have, is 32-bit physics support, right?
That's true. It does not have 32-bit physics support.
So that GPU is probably in specific games with specific settings gonna just wipe the floor with this 5070.
Look, your 1080 Ti, the greatest of all time, is going to own any of the 50 series in Mirror's Edge with physics acceleration turned on.
You're just making the argument for me.
Well, what was the hottest game at that time?
Batman Arkham Asylum.
There you go. Yeah.
Crisis.
Y'all are just justifying the fact that I have so many PCs in my house still because I'm like, it's for not just the memories. I actually have practical use.
Now it's an add-in card.
Elena, you have to let them age in the garage a little bit before they go to e-waste. That's what I find is like, I have to move
Look at
stuff
you
out.
with your fancy garage.
Yeah, show off. You got a garage in the
Fancy,
Bay Area. Just go have fun with that. Anyway, what we also had fun with was testing the 5070. This is the the first segment. We're talking about the 5070. The review embargo went up today. I alluded to it, but there's content all around. Brad has an article, a review. If you like the written word, I don't know if you've heard about these things called websites.
I like the written word.
Then you can go. There's a link in the description to Brad's review. Brad, I'm going to start with you. Please tell us your thoughts on the 5070.
It's complicated. I've said before, I've written before, Nvidia's really putting the fate of the whole RTX series in DLSS 4 MFG's hands, multi-frame gen. And I think this really is the extreme of that. If you're looking at it from a generational upgrade standpoint, it's a stagnant side grade. Like this is a 4070 Super with new drivers, essentially, and MFG. That being said, in today's climate, it's still a very good 1440p GPU. It'll still get you to the 60 to 100 frames per second frame rates with visuals cranked that will let you flip on MFG and, experience that smooth goodness. But yeah, it doesn't move the needle forward in performance or value, really. It's very reliant on DLSS 4. It's still a good GPU. I'm worried about the 12 gigabytes of RAM. There's already games at 1440p where 12 gigabytes of RAM can be a problem.
So we will talk about pricing because that's obviously the big thing people want to talk about. I will say in my testing, so when I ran the benchmarks, I had this Founders Edition 5070, and then also I tested it against a Founders Edition 4070 Super. That's not what this is. And I was surprised that I was like, wait, this can't be right. Some of these tests that I ran. You can go look at the charts over on his article. Like F1 Also, what's another one? Call of Duty Black Ops 6. The 4070 Super was actually faster than the 5070. I was very confused. I was like double running the numbers, and I was kind of crunched on time for a lot of other reasons as well. But I was just like, oh, but yeah, a lot of them it's just stagnant. And to have the older outgoing card actually be faster in some of them is just like, ooh, okay. Well, we haven't like out of all the 50 series stuff that we're running into. There's issues to be had everywhere, but at least you can say none of the other ones I think were slower in any of the testing that we did. So that was very weird for me to see.
It's because it's a different kind of setup. It doesn't have, I don't have the numbers in front of me, as many of the streaming multiprocessors and stuff like that as the 4070 did. It was a bigger die. So it's lacking in some things like TMUs, stuff like that, compared to the 4070 Super. So it makes sense. There's some regressions there at times, but it's you want to see some sort of movement going forward. I understand that it's really replacing the 4070, not the 4070 Super. But the reason the 4070 Super came out over a year ago is because the 4070 wasn't cutting it. So to have the same card release a year later is a bit disappointing.
Well, and I was also like we have a Procyon AI text generation test, and that like especially in the past testings has been a very sizable leap from the 40 series to the 50 series, because it's like, okay, well, a lot of the focus of Blackwell has been like AI performance and stuff like that, and even that wasn't even a huge uplift over the 4070 Super. That and like that was very surprising as well. So weird all around. I mean, yeah. Will, what are your thoughts? Did you look at any of the coverage this morning?
I did not look at too much of the coverage this morning. I saw that every message board and Discord that I go into with people who post about PC hardware, people were fairly upset, is what it seemed like.
Wait, was every YouTube thumbnail like this? Like,
I didn't look at
okay.
the,
I watched some YouTube.
Like half of them were.
Yeah. Or just like
hair pulling, like fire coming out of the video card. No, the thing that people, the sentiment that I got from people is that they feel like a card that it costs what this costs in the real world probably should not be limited to 1440p games, was the takeaway I got. Which
Yes,
I think
I
is
agree
fair.
with that.
Yeah. I feel like maybe Nvidia has flown too close to the sun in terms of pricing and segmentation, and that their 1440p cards should be in more of a budget range than I don't know what, like, I know what the MSRP for this card was supposed to be. It was supposed to be $550, but what does it actually cost?
Are we going to talk about pricing now? You want to talk?
I don't know. I don't know what it.
There should be some at $549 from everything Nvidia is telling us. They sent us a bunch of links of ones that should be MSRP.
The Asus Prime one is supposed to be.
Okay.
Well, yeah. Here's the thing. I did find it a little weird that a lot of the. I mean, I get it because there is a precedent for it for this 50 series launch, but a lot of the reviews were hinging on the MSRP being fake. I was like, well, the launch isn't actually till tomorrow, so we don't know what stock's going to be like, all that kind of stuff. I'm sure it's going to sell out either way. So that's why we keep talking about like, let's wait a little bit, let this stuff time to get out, the channel to flow, start to see like, okay, what is actual street pricing once launch craziness is gone. But yeah,
I want to go back to what Will was talking about the 1440p gaming. I agree with that. That was actually my major criticism of the 4070 and 4070 Super last time around. It's like, hey man, this is $600. It shouldn't have a 192-bit bus and 12 gigs. It's just more so now that it's 2 years later. And I would be fine with it being 1440p focused with the smaller bus if they at least gave 16 gigabytes of RAM. Like, if I feel like they got to give something there at least.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the segmentation on the cards that are over $500 should be, hey, this one's good at 60 frames a second, and this one's like for faster than 60 frames a second, and then this one is for as fast as your other stuff can go. That feels okay to me. But hey, if you get a better monitor while you have this video card, you're gonna have to upgrade your video card, feels pretty gnarly. So yeah.
Yeah, and I was going back and looking at my B580 numbers as well. because I tested that at both 1080p and 1440p, and I was like, oh, okay, this is capable of 1440p. I mean, it's definitely a different performance. I didn't retest the B580, so that was on like different benchmark and different numbers and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's not one-to-one apples, but yeah.
It would get stomped by this card. I would hope, given that it's half the price.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll be retesting it sometime soon.
Kind of
so
curious.
we'll
The
see.
B580, I think it should get stumped by this card, but that is a very good, at least entry level 1440p gaming solution. And it has 12 gigabytes of memory, and it's 250, 280 bucks.
And
So it really feels like Nvidia is shortcutting people here.
And I wouldn't expect that card. Like, I don't expect that card to be a 4K card for 250 bucks, $300, right?
No.
But like at $500, we're into like, hey, this is what the 1080 cost originally, which I realize like we're coming up on 10 years since the 1080 came out. So it's kind of unfair, but also like my first video, when I bought a Voodoo card 30 years ago, that cost $200, and it was a profoundly transformative piece of technology. And these are not profoundly transformative pieces of technology, but they are priced like profoundly transformative pieces of tech. Like say what you will about the 4090, like we haven't seen a card that gave that kind of performance jump in a really, really long time, and like that felt like I felt okay about a $1,500-$1,600 MSRP, which like I get it, I know they didn't really sell very many 4090s at $1,600, but that felt like you were getting something that like it felt like you were buying a Porsche for $1,500, right?
Yeah.
And these cards don't feel like Porsches. These cards feel like Gordon would say they feel like souped up Hondas that are lowered and have nitrous.
Wow.
I think.
I don't know if it's too early for these questions, but my first one is, Brad, do you think that NVIDIA was leaning on multi-frame gen to kind of make up some of the difference to make it feel more performative?
I think
Performant,
they basically have to this generation. Like it was never going to be a big leap forward in performance because it's still using the same underlying TSMC architecture. Like it's still 4 nanometer. But those wafers are getting way more expensive. So I can understand why like they can't move the needle as far as raster performance that much. And instead they're using their money and engineering resources to boost up the AI cores and multi-frame generation, which I think is a truly transformative technology. The problem is it only works in 75 games, which is a lot of games, especially considering it's been 2 months that it's on the street. But still, like the whole selling point for this card, if you're looking to come from an upgrade, is MFG, and it only works in 75 games.
Real quick, Willis, I sent you a poll. If you could create that, because I'm curious about like when we talk about an MSRP, a lot of people get upset because we're referencing the Nvidia MSRP, right? And hey, you're not actually getting that on the street. And I think one of the things that I was thinking about that I want to do a poll, and please answer this honestly, is how many people are actually buying Founders Edition versus AIB cards, right? Because a lot of times we review the Founders Edition, this is the MSRP, out there, but how many people actually buy this is very slim. So like, a lot of people, like, I think there's a lot of stuff to talk about in that. And I'm just curious, like, please answer that honestly. Do you have a Founders Edition or are you buying AIB cards?
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting conversation once we get the data, just because I think for a lot of people, they use the Founders Edition as kind of like their, and for lack of a better term, their canary in the coal mine, right? So they might not buy a Founders Edition card, but they're kind of using that as the metric to measure like how much value you're getting for a card, because they know that once you start going to the partner cards, that you're going to be looking at far less measurable variance in like how much you're going to be paying extra, right? Because they're going to be selling their different features, they're going to be overclocking to a certain degree, and you can't quite get that same kind of evenness to kind of measure generation over generation. So I think I think one thing when we have that conversation, it'll be interesting to just keep that in mind for how relevant it is versus what people are owning. Because I don't think people owning is the whole story.
Well, I mean, but it's also like if you can't buy this one, you know, like if the stock is so scarce, like, you know, it's different than, oh, I can go on the shelf and see the one that I buy, right? And some of them are like I said, that Asus Prime one, I believe, is going to be at $550.
Yeah.
I will say also, we did not get another third-party card in to test against, which was a bummer because I would have liked to compare and contrast all these. But yeah, it becomes muddy, right? That's why for me, that's why it's hard to be like, oh, okay, the 5070 in every count, you know, or any of these GPUs is at this price. This is what it equals. And it's like, okay, well, but that's not what all GPUs cost.
Yeah, but I think the Founders Edition conversation is, like I said again, the most standardized, air quotes, metric to go against. And I would agree. I was actually about to say this, and Jeff Smith in chat just said this as well, which is, I think the better question is, how many people want the Founders Edition card? Right. So that way we can measure. I think both poll questions are good because one gives us a read on what actually is the distribution, but the other gives us a read on how people would actually prefer the distribution to be in terms of what they have in their rigs. And I think from there we can have a better informed conversation about it.
Well, no, I also think, like, so if people wanted more Founders Edition, which we'll get to it, which like at this point then too, it's like, well, why isn't Nvidia just selling this? Like why are we even doing this thing? Why we go through third-party manufacturers?
Because they don't want to be making graphics cards for everybody in the world, man.
I know, but they
have tried that and gone under.
Well, I mean, but we'll talk about it when we talk about the Radeon stuff. But you know, there's no reference cards for the Radeon launch this time, and there was no reference cards for the 5070 Ti or even the 4070 Ti. So it's just weird. I don't
understand, Brad. Maybe you have some insight into this. I don't understand why do they do the Founders Edition? They always used to make reference boards that usually would get sent to reviewers, and I assume would be sent to OEMs as the AIB partners as the first wave of cards. But then at some point they started selling those and calling them Founders Editions, and I don't understand what the impetus for that was. Were they having like problems with AIB vendors making like subpar cards or something, or like what was? Why did they do that? Do you have any idea why they did that?
I don't think they've ever explicitly said it. My guess would be they're using that as like the pricing anchor to try to keep things around where it should be. Because at least the last few generations in the 2020 era, let's say the pandemic cryptocurrency kind of era, like AIBs can get kind of pricier. Yeah. So I think they want that there to be able to say, hey, we actually do have $550 5070s. We sold one ourselves. So,
well, but people are still getting mad at that price. So why wouldn't they anchor it lower? If they don't care about selling it,
semi-realistic, man.
I don't know. It just feels weird.
They still got to be able to sell them. It's a really interesting time to be a graphics card reviewer. It has been for this whole decade so far. It's 2025. It has not been a normal decade for graphics cards. I used to say, hey, man, at the end of every review, I'd break down the buying. Like, hey, man, this is available for $400. There's no reason to get this when this other thing's available for $350. Or if you want to use one from last gen, you can get it for $250. I pretty much stopped doing that in my written reviews and just kind of focused. Here's like the 5 or 10 things you need to know. And I give you the data and I kind of make some comparisons. But I try not to get too far into that value stuff because prices are so insane. But I think that MSRP pricing is very important to try to evaluate what these companies are trying to do and what should be the baseline for that generation. And that's why I tend to focus on that when I do reviews.
Yeah. So here's the other thing, because like even though our numbers show that like it's either on par, sometimes faster, sometimes slower than a 4070 Super, I'm going to Newegg right now, and the cheapest 4070 Super that you could buy brand new is $889.
That's too much money to spend on that 4090 Super. 40
I watched a bunch of the coverage this morning, and Steve at Gamers Nexus was doing a search for cards between $600 and $850 on Newegg, I believe it was, and there was only one model in stock, like on the site. So it's that bad right now because both AMD and Nvidia drew down their last gen stocks in preparation for rolling these out.
Yeah.
So it's just a really bad place right now.
Well, and so that's the unfortunate part about this whole thing, because we especially at the higher end, AMD's not participating. Intel is definitely not there. Like, if you want a high-end video card, you can't buy a 4090 unless you go look on the aftermarket, which is probably safe on the 4090s, given that the Ethereum had kind of wound down by the time those shipped. But like, you don't have an alternative. You get a 5090 or 5080, or you pound sand. So like it's not like buying last gen is really viable at this point. So
that's why I think I've taken some heat on different social media forums with the way I kind of have been positioning my reviews this generation, but I try to keep that balance in mind, because like right now, yes, if you look at my headline, 5070 is a stagnant upgrade, and the upgrade's like in air quotes, but it's still an okay GPU. Because if you are looking for a graphics card right now, you need to know what's available and what you can buy and how it actually performs. Yes, it's super disappointing that this has no increase in anything worthwhile over the 4070 Super. But if you're going to go look for a graphics card right now, this isn't bad. Like, this is a very good 1440p GPU that, has MFG on top of it and supported games. So it's like, it's a weird dance.
It also depends on what you're coming from, what the rest of your rig is, your monitor resolution, all that kind of stuff. Also, I mean, I know we talk about this round and round again, but the other thing I was thinking about too is, like, I feel like every time we talk about this, we're like, well, back in the 10 series, it used to cost this. Are we just always going to be saying that for years and years to come now?
I mean, I wanted to bring this up because I did a quick inflation calculator check on the price that Will quoted for the Voodoo card, because I wanted to see how much that would be in today's dollars. And, honestly, I think this is a really good point, because you said 200, right, Will?
I think the Voodoo 2 was 200. I can't remember what the Voodoo 1 was.
Yeah, so let's assume that that's accurate. Yeah. And so if I take the 200 figure and I plug into just a general inflation calculator, it comes out to almost about $500. So you're basically saying that the flagship card, top of the line, was $500 in today's money, right?
Real quick, looks like the Voodoo 2 is $300 at launch.
Okay, I mean, then that's what, maybe, hold on, let me just, I have the number
650
thingy
probably.
Here. Calculate, 635, roughly.
Yeah.
So that is probably not that different. I'm just going to do some real time for 1080 Ti. What was that? What did that come out at?
699, I think. Right?
7. It was 7, yeah.
So, like, over time, and that came out in
1080 Ti was 2017?
Yeah, that's my guess.
17?
Yeah, it was post PUBG.
Okay. So with inflation, 30 years ago, top end card was about $635 in today's dollars. What is this? 8 years ago, it was about $915, and now we're at what, $1,600? It's assuming you could even get it at that price. So there is this creep, and so I think it's a really fair question for people to be asking: are we getting that much jump in performance truly for that amount of creep over time, right? Because, I mean, there are people even in the comments right now saying, people don't want to spend a small fortune for, but they put in quotes, a high-end card. So at this point, is $500 and $550 a high-end card anymore? I mean, I think we can safely say it's not positioned that way, but the money sure seems like it feels that way. I mean, I just paid $20 at Costco for 60 eggs, and I felt like I got a deal given how much it cost, like at Trader Joe's or the standard grocery store. So I get where people are coming from. I just don't know, do we need to reset our expectations? Right? Are we just going to forever just carry the memory of good times with us?
Oh yeah,
there's a mixture. I think that the real answer is nuanced, and it's a mixture.
Yeah.
I think obviously you have to take inflation into account. TSMC process at this point is they're charging way more per wafer than they used to. Shipping has gone down since the pandemic, but it's still way up compared to before the pandemic. It's probably going to get worse in the near future. Like, those are all actual tangible things that do drive up the price of cutting-edge technology over time. But I think there's also a slice of it where Nvidia is seeing how far it can push and get the most profit margin, especially now that it has all the data center dollars and wants high profit margin. So I think it's the job of enthusiasts and reviewers to be diligent and give honest assessments of the technology for today's time, but still criticize things when they're not the movement forward that we would traditionally like to see.
So to highlight your point, Brad, the Voodoo 2 had about 8 million transistors, it looks like, because it had two raster and one vertex and two raster engines. So 8 million total transistors versus 92 billion transistors on the 5090.
How do they know? Do they sit there in the factory and just
Somebody
count?
counts. Yeah, well, there's a guy there whose job is just to count.
He's like, wait, this one. Oh, and they
takes
maybe
a
they
long
fell
time.
asleep on the job when they were looking at the
Or-
ROPS.
He's just clicking.
Or they have a coworker that's like
Yeah, one of those clickers.
tapping them on the shoulder while they're in the middle of
Yeah.
counting.
yeah.
Gotta reset.
He's like,
Gotta
dude,
redo.
dude, hold on, I got to go count these ROPS over here. No, we don't got time to count those ROPS over there. Just keep counting the transistors.
They got two different lines, and one guy's counting out loud, and the other guy's counting to himself. And he's just like, "Stop counting out loud, man! I lost track of the ROPS."
Yeah, I don't know.
17,
That's too
19,
real.
It's all weird.
23,
Like,
25,
the
27.
prices suck. People are very bummed, and it sucks. And it's definitely hard because it's like there is cool stuff to try out and test, but there is also like people are bummed. Things are expensive. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. It's weird.
And oh, go ahead, Elena.
Oh, thanks. Here's my other question too, though. I also peeked at the Steam hardware survey, and we're still sitting at like, I think a majority, a little over 50% at 1080p, and maybe 25, 30% at 1440p. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I feel like it's a separate conversation, or it's very nuanced, right? And they're all overlapping threads, but I still feel it's a little bit removed, talking about the value versus progress thread versus what's realistic for what people need based on the monitors that they have, right? Because the monitor is going to limit basically what's useful out of a card.
Yeah.
I mean, if you got a 1080p 60 monitor, like,
Yeah,
No
exactly.
reason.
Yeah.
Just run integrated, man. You're good.
you're right.
It's a little bit of a stretch, but
That's why I like handhelds.
right. So then there's that where it's like, are we just spoiled? Like, I'm not saying we are, but this is me in philosophical mode asking myself, am I just spoiled? Like, is it reasonable to always want something super badass for $250 just so I can say that my PC top to bottom has the latest and greatest, even if I didn't spend like enthusiast level money for it?
Well, this is a thing I think about a lot, right? Because the iPhone people have dealt with this a lot over the last few years too, right?
Oh, poor iPhone people. Oh, I feel so bad for you.
But
Hey.
look,
Actually, I think all of
You're
you,
you're
except for me and
outnumbered,
Elena.
Adam.
Yeah, I know.
You're outnumbered, dude. Because technically, I have one too.
what? So, but
I have a second phone so that I can keep up with iOS.
Oh, yeah, she's got her burner
she's- yeah,
phone.
okay.
I
She's
get
got-
it, I get it.
just
That's
when
okay.
she needs
To trade those
hit the
eggs.
road.
It's really expensive to have a burner phone on iOS. I'm just gonna say.
But I guess my point is, it used to be when the iPhone came out. I'm just using the iPhone as an example. This applies to PC stuff too. It used to be that you spent $500 and you and Beyonce had the same phone, right? And
Also, I remember $500 at the time. People were like, "Apple's so stupid. They're charging $500 for this phone."
I think it was 600. But yeah, the
Yeah.
point is, like yeah, it was people were crazy, and then they went mad selling them, and because remember they didn't sell them with it back in the old days when you got a phone, then the phone company would give you money and you would pay it, but it'd give you a phone
Subsidized,
and
yeah.
they'd subsidize, and you'd be stuck with it for 2 years. So you wanted to get a good phone. Anyway, the point is, it used to be that the only difference between the best iPhone you could buy and the cheapest iPhone you could buy was that one had a little bit more storage than the other. But otherwise, like I said, your phone, Beyonce's phone, the president of the United States phone, all the same phone, and it made it feel like everybody was driving a Porsche, right? This is where I'm getting at.
Okay. I don't drive a Porsche.
Okay, no, none of us drive Porsches because we're journalists. This is the problem. The point is, we gotta. It's the economists call this the sunglasses effect. So you can't afford a convertible and you can't afford to go to the beach. But you know what people do? They go out and they buy a new pair of sunglasses. They're like, man, new pair of sunglasses feels pretty good. It feels like I'm having a party. And then you don't have to buy the sunglasses. You don't have to buy the iPhone, the expensive video card. All of that used to be that. And now the expensive video card is too expensive to fit into the sunglasses budget, is my point. I'm doing a bad job with this. The metaphor's
Adam
all over
pulled
the
out
place.
I'm sorry.
Showing off
I pulled out
shades.
my sunglasses, but I don't understand the jump between the sunglasses.
It's an economist thing.
Oh.
You wouldn't understand.
Numbers, math.
It's a phrased a different way. It is basically when you buy yourself something small but extraneous to make you feel better that you can't afford life's actual luxuries. Like during the pandemic,
okay.
they were talking about this like on the more maybe
Like toilet paper during the pandemic. I bought toilet paper. I was like,
that
what
was
a
not
luxury.
necessarily that was a luxury, but that was a necessity. I was thinking more about like when you buy yourself, a watch you don't need, or a lipstick you don't need, or any small thing that feels a little bit extraneous and
treat out
luxurious,
dinner.
but
yourself.
you can
Yeah.
actually afford it.
Falcon Northwest, I think you probably have a better chance of knowing what GPU Beyonce has than we do. So if you would like to let us know, we'd love
I
to
bet
do a
she
story
has
about
the MSI Supreme.
that. You think she's a Supreme?
Yeah, because it's got the chamfered edges.
And it's got the water cooling, so
Yeah.
that's quiet.
Yeah. She don't mess with the air version. No.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So 5070. It's a GPU. Go buy it or don't.
GPU.
Real quick.
Honestly, if like I put this in my review, like it is very disappointing what it is as far as advancement goes, but it really still is a good 1440p GPU if you have that available and you can't get anything else. The 12 gigabytes is disappointing. MFG rocks. If you're coming from at least a 3070, you're going to get like 60% more performance, and you're jumping from 8 gigabytes to 12 gigabytes. So even though 12 gigabytes sucks and I wish I had 16, if you're coming from a 3070, you're going to appreciate the 12. You're going to appreciate MFG. You're going to appreciate all that. So if you're buying a new pre-built PC, or if you're a couple generations behind, it is worth considering upgrading. I personally would recommend waiting to see what AMD has up its sleeve with the Radeon stuff coming out. But yeah, funny timing how they did that.
Feels like a segue.
It's still a
yeah.
good graphics card.
That feels like a segue.
Segue over on to the next topic. Radeon has been announced again. The Radeon 9000.
What?
Radeon 9070 and 9070 XT has been talked about again. We talked about it at CES. We've been talking about it, teasing. AMD's been teasing hints. And then Friday, boom! Just a video.
What?
Just launched a video.
Wow.
I actually didn't watch the video because we got pre-briefed ahead of time.
It was
but
actually really funny. It wasn't a bad video.
Yeah.
But you could
Seemed
tell
like
they
people liked
dubbed in the pricing.
I've heard that.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, it was so funny. You could hear it only if you have good hearing for that kind of stuff, but you can hear him be like, yeah, and then it's going to be $549 kind of thing.
That's hilarious. They're like, so Lisa, you got to get back in the booth. She's like, can I just do it on my iPhone real quick?
Sure.
It's the same one that Beyonce has. It'll be fine. Yeah.
She's a pro, you
Yeah,
think? She'll
yeah.
get Pro Max, probably?
Love it.
I don't know.
With that big iPhone?
Yeah. All right. Well, that seems to be what people are excited about. Why don't you take down the poll right now, real quick, before we talk about Radeons? So the poll right now at what is it, 174 votes.
Yep.
16% says they currently have a Founders Edition or a reference design. 83% say they have AIB. So that is interesting. So why don't you put up the next poll that Elena mentioned? Which GPU do you want? Same options, Founders Edition, AIB. Right? Is that the best way, Elena, you think?
Yeah, I think everyone who's been listening understands what the context of that is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think the
So
question has to be super precise.
there is a link in the description down to an article. That is not the description. Down to an article that also one Brad Charkis wrote. You've been a busy man. All these
Been working too hard, man.
all these words.
I need some vacation.
Yeah. No, definitely need. The first line, the long wait is over. Yeah. So not only do we get some more details about RDNA 4, all that kind of stuff, I think the biggest thing is price. So I don't know. Do we want to start with price because we've been talking about price, or do we want to?
Do we
talk
have to
about
ADR
details?
our prices in when we say them?
We do, yeah. Which would be funny, but no. Where do we want to start? Yeah.
I mean, what?
Well, here's the headline. Here we go. A headline by one Bradley Charkis. AMD's Radeon RX 9070 and 9070 XT target 4K gaming at a 1440p price.
So
Wait, hold on. I thought you just said the 5070 at that price shouldn't have been a 1440p card.
That's correct. They definitely should have put a bigger memory bus and more memory in there.
I know, I'm just making a joke. Sorry.
What are they trying to put these cards up against? Do we know?
In their marketing, you mean?
Yeah, like what do they compare? Like, there's no look. The marketing, the product names are confusing to me. I'm just a simple consumer. There's no XT on the Nvidia side, so I don't know what card is. That a TI or is that a 50 set? Like, where do they? But now there's the
70. They changed the numbers to be that's the 70 class.
So the XT is a TI and the 9070 is a 5070 ish.
Yeah, that's the way that they just rebranded it. That's the way they're positioning it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
In their actual marketing, they do a lot of comparing it against the 7900 GRE, I believe.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So they've got GRE numbers. Not only at 1440p but at 4K. They're talking about uplift. FSR4 was talked about. I'm not gonna
one thing I do want to shout out, because we always do a really good job of calling out when companies get this wrong. One thing I really liked about AMD's numbers is that they show native performance.
Oh.
And they add upscaling above that. So it's not just like when you look at the Nvidia stuff, it was, hey, the 5070 is as fast as a 4090 because they're comparing the most extreme MFG cases. AMD doesn't do that. They show you actual native performance and they build on top of it.
Did they show real frame rates or did they show multipliers?
No, it's always a percentage.
Based off 100% scale.
Yeah, I hate that. I hate that too.
So 50-50.
Yeah, well, so the thing is the MSRP of the 7900 GRE, which is I think is why they're comparing it. It was 550, right? Was what that launched at in America? 7900 GRE MSRP. I'm doing, oh yeah, 550. Okay, so like I think that's why they're targeting that in the numbers. But we know the GRE was slower than the 7900 XT and XTX. But they're saying both at ray tracing and also rasterized gaming that it's faster than the GRE. So yeah, that's good to know. But can we extrapolate any sort of comparison to how the XT or the XTX sits?
I was in the briefing, the journalist briefing, the North American briefing for this, and actually asked representatives to compare it to modern things. And I forget the name of the gentleman who was holding the briefing. But he said that the 9070 XT should be roughly similar to a 4080 Super in raster performance.
And there was another follow-up question, too, asking, will it beat the 7900 XTX? And they said in some games, yes, some games, no. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, we lost Elena. She doesn't like this news.
Oh.
This news is she's
graphics
real upset about this. But
So if those numbers are true, those are pretty good. Like the 5070 Ti is essentially a 4080 Super with MFG. So that's true. It should be punching right around the 4080 Super 5070 Ti.
which the MSRP of the 4080 Super was 1,000, and the MSRP at launch of the 7900 XTX was 1,000 as well, right? I believe.
Yes.
I know that it officially got a drop down to like
It was $999 for the XTX and $899 for the XT.
Yeah. So we're talking about that levels of performance a number of years later for a cheaper price. But
much cheaper price, $550 is a lot less than that.
But also, they're talking about ray tracing performance as a big key part of the RDNA 4 architecture. They did have some sessions about like deep dive into the architecture and all that kind of stuff. To be frank, I watched it and a lot of it was over my head. I'm still don't understand a lot of that stuff. But it sounds like that they are very much focusing with this new RDNA 4 architecture on things like machine learning and ray tracing performance. Are you excited about these things, Brad?
I am, honestly. Like, I was fine with AMD not following in NVIDIA's footsteps right out of the gate with the 20 series. Like, at that point, ray tracing and using AI to improve upscaling were new technologies. It takes a while to catch up to that. But I feel like the last couple of generations, like, it is a big Achilles heel. Like, if FSR has not been as good as DLSS, And the ray tracing absolutely has not been as good as Nvidia's. So I think it's really smart of them to focus on that, because the last 2 generations, it's like, yeah, you can save $50 with an AMD card, but then you can't run ray tracing and you don't have a thing like DLSS. So I think it's smart of them to embrace that this is what the future is moving towards.
Well, and so many DLSS games have come out in the last like 6 months even. We saw Outlaws, we saw Indiana Jones, we saw Black Myth, we saw like there's just look the time we're at the end of the 5-year dev cycle for the games that started being built at the 2080 in the 2080 era, right? And those games are shipping now, and they're like there's real benefit to having more global lighting simulation and full path tracing and all that stuff. It's really cool.
So the thing, the other thing that I was looking at was the FSR4 is and they talked about this before. This will be exclusive to RDNA 4. It's built for this architecture. It is based on machine learning, so they're training it against that. It can do the math calculations better, but that is definitely a change from the past, because that is one nice thing, is at least a consumer. I can run FSR on my handhelds, on my Nvidia GPUs, on my Intel GPUs, and on my AMD GPUs. It's like,
put it on your console, man. It's right there.
Actually, FSR 4, or sorry, not 4, but FSR was on consoles as well. So like now in order to get better results out of it, they're having to lock it specifically to RDNA 4, which right now is just 2 GPUs in the market. Do you think that is the right approach to go?
I do. I think it had to happen eventually. I think Intel and Nvidia have proved that, using AI to accelerate upscaling is the way to go. Just look at the quality, the image quality of FSR versus XeSS and DLSS, and you can see the difference. And they were going to have to rip the Band-Aid off at some point. That's not something you can like half-ass in there. Oh, sorry. One thing
it was so loud.
Yeah. It's like a donkey.
So startled.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
What, his ass or my beep?
I don't want. Which half of the donkey do you get? The front half, the back half, or you cut it down the middle?
Oh my.
Oh, y'all give me flashbacks to Clerks 2, and I don't like it.
Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah, I didn't watch that one. Okay.
But one thing that's cool about FSR 4 is that, much like DLSS 4, it's built on top of FSR 3. So the reason that Nvidia was able to get so many DLSS 4 games out the bat is because they have the DLSS override. They have a bunch of other things. They can just say, hey, we're building this on top of DLSS 3. Now he has DLSS 4. AMD's doesn't seem to be quite the same extent, but it's the same basic idea. This builds on top of the bones of FSR 3.1. So they're saying there's going to be 30 games available at launch, including a whole ton of Sony titles like Ratchet and Clank, God of War, Last of Us.
Weird.
And they're expecting to have 75 more by the end of the year, and they're still going to be keeping FSR 2 and 3 around for the older cards and for devices that don't have the AI accelerators in them.
I wonder what the implementation is like for developers on that stuff. Is it all one plugin and you get FSR 4, 2, 3, and 4 for whatever hardware, like across the hardware stack?
Yeah, I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
That's a very key question.
Yeah.
My guess is that it fails gracefully back down if you don't have the appropriate hardware. That would be the smart way to do it. The other thing on that front that is interesting is Nvidia has this thing. I don't think we've talked about it here yet. Is it called Streamline? I think.
Yeah, it's called Streamline.
Yeah. That's like a bucket. It's like a bucket API that hands out what you need for DLSS and FSR and XeSS, so that you implement the hooks in the game once and then can just drop the plugins in and you get all of them. So then it's just a UX artist problem. Or UI artist problem rather. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, this is all curious. I will note that friends over at Digital Foundry, on one of their recent podcasts, they were talking about FSR versus PSSR, the thing that Sony,
PlayStation 1.
yeah,
Wow.
the
Language, sir.
yeah, the pisser. Sorry,
Are we spicy today?
I just said it.
Beep.
It's just how it's spelled. Is that they were wondering if internally Sony wasn't liking the FSR implementations that AMD was doing, because obviously there's an AMD chip inside of the PlayStation, so they decided to do their own. And so this is in retaliation to that, to say, oh, it's okay, you don't need to do your PSSR thing, which has actually launched fairly rough, supposedly. I don't play too many PlayStation games, so I don't know, but supposedly it is a little rougher. But maybe this is AMD coming back and being like, no, we got this. This is awesome. We're going to train it against AMD hardware. It's going to be machine learned. All that kind of stuff. So I'm curious to see how it plays in that space.
It's something you really got to spend a lot of time testing. Like with all of these upscaling AI enhanced technologies, like the proof really is in the pudding. Like you can say in general, DLSS is better than FSR 2. That DLSS 2 is better than FSR 2, let's say. But there are still certain games where, DLSS falls on its face. So you really need to get hands-on and test a bunch of games to see how they run. And that's what we're going to have to see out of AMD. They got to prove it.
Yeah. Well, and that kind of testing is weird and hard too,
It turns out you spend a lot of time looking at screens and just kind of squinting and then going, am I going to be able to see this just running 60 frames a second? And the answer, no, probably not.
Side note, I will say, so we've mentioned this before, but Asus and MSI sent over the new 4K Q OLED monitors.
They're 4K. Yeah, they're 4K. Sorry,
they're QD OLED.
Yeah.
You've been using the MSI one. I've been using the Asus one. Very expensive, high end.
God in the face.
Yeah, and I was just like,
so jealous.
Now I understand. It's like when you invest in audio,
it's way better than that
for me. I don't know. Yeah, but the audio. Yeah, anyway,
there's a reason I had like 7 monitors.
Yeah,
different
I know.
things. Where they all went poop.
I don't like that I'm in this realm now.
Brad,
I was okay with middling monitors.
Brad, he came in last week and was like, I understand what Brad was talking about all that time.
I was a little. Oh wow, this is the first time I've ever used a nice monitor.
Can't keep that secret.
No.
Yeah. But I will say I did have a thought on it, because I've been trying to do my own image quality analysis kind of thing. Just I'm not an expert at all, but having the hardware on hand and being able to A/B test stuff, and especially on something as nice as this, I did have the question. I was like, man, this monitor is so good that even the bad quality still looks good. Oh no. Is this the right way to be doing it? like I was just like, man, yeah. So I don't know.
So it's kind of like my testing for the site when I just using budget laptops to test hardware or software, because it's like, well, if I run it on really good high performance hardware, this is not really going to tell me what it's like for the average user.
Yeah. So I don't know. Anyway, side note. So yeah, I guess, do we have a launch day? Did they give a launch day? March 6th. March 6th.
From now.
2 days from now.
Is tomorrow. 9070 series should be the day after. So
wow.
Yeah,
I think
so
AMD's probably feeling pretty confident
going
for something like
death
that.
blow.
Well, we did talk about this a couple weeks ago, where it's like, oh, should they come out day and date? And it's not the same day, but this is pretty much like right on top of each other. This is AMD being like, no. We changed the name. We have machine learning based upscaling, and we're coming at you at price, which I guess we haven't said specifically, but the 9070 starts at $550 and the XT starts at $600. Is that right? Do I have that breakdown right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. So
$550 and $599.
There is some confusion, and I've seen this before again, because they've kind of done this between the XT and the XTX and the non-XT, all that kind of stuff. Why would they put these so close to each other? Like, why just $50
I have no idea.
apart?
It's always stupid, and usually, at least historically, universally, the lower priced one is a ripoff that you shouldn't buy. They're so close to each other, it usually just upsells to the big one.
So an anchoring.
Yeah. But it's really, this is the way they can still use these dies that have some defects on them, but they just cut it real close. But there should be a decent amount of stock from everything I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen some other people report that the preponderance of that stock will likely be 9070 XTs. So that's what we're hearing is going to be out there on the street.
I mean, it seems like
I mean, the slide, real quick, the slide
Yeah.
said wide availability March 6th. So I don't know, are
Well,
they,
remember,
they have wider
you guys
cards?
saw these at CES. They were
Yeah.
already like manufacturers
yeah,
had this ready.
I actually
months ago.
touched one, yes.
I just it feels like on paper this looks real good, right? Because it looks like they've solved their ray tracing problems, they've solved their DLSS inadequacy, theoretically at least.
Or they at least started addressing them.
Yeah, they like these are like this hardware exists and is capable in a way that it hasn't been for previous RDNA architectures. So I just want to see benchmarks at this point, I guess.
Yeah, well, then the other talk people were having on Discord that even if the benchmarks are really good, is that going to be enough? Do we think this is enough? Do we think this is a knockout blow that all of a sudden AMD, Nvidia is just stumbling, and Nvidia and AMD can just come in and be like, yeah,
This
we
is like
got you.
Punch Out where like the guy's just kind of going
Punch
like
Out.
this and like
Oh, yeah, and the stars.
AMD's like winding up the arm, just coming in. I don't know. We'll find out
Maybe.
soon.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I
think
think people love that story, but
I think AMD has a chance if
So you're saying there's a chance?
if the cards do wind up doing very well or doing well, especially if the 599 9070 XT does wind up punching close to a 4080 Super, like we can compare that kind of like in our heads if that's what they're saying already. We already know that's what a 5070 Ti does. That's for $150 less, and they've been stockpiling stuff for months. All the reports are the 5070s are going to be very low stock tomorrow. Like Nvidia just last night, like long after I stopped working and I was getting ready for bed, we got a note. There's not even going to be Founders Editions at launch. They're gonna
Yeah, I
be
saw
later
that.
in the month.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if stock is tight, but they've actually been managing to stockpile, the stock's tight for the 5070s, but AMD has been managing to stockpile stuff for a couple months. There's a lot of people out there who just want to buy any decently high-end graphics card right now. So like,
Yeah.
I think there's a chance that they can pull it off.
I think we're going to see people standing in line waiting for a chance to buy a 5080 or 5090 in front of big piles of 9070s is my bet.
That is what history happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and Falcon Northwest says, so if AMD knocks out NVIDIA's fourth tier card, they win?
I mean, where's the fat part of the market, right?
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the AMD, they're saying they're not going for the Halo because they're going for the mainstream, and Intel has kind of said somewhat of the same thing too. Playing down at their price ranges. So yeah, no, I mean, we'll see. We will see. We will see.
I mean, honestly, this like making the card good is phase one for AMD. Phase two is making sure that that their drivers are good, and like this is a place we criticize Nvidia a lot, but like they drop drivers constantly when they have a new game come out and it's a big game. They drop a driver if there's a problem immediately. They'll hotfix them, the whole thing. And AMD's, when I installed an AMD driver the other day and it was from December or November or something, it was old. They have to nail drivers if they want it. Even if they get big sales on these cards and then they don't keep up with the drivers, then it doesn't matter because people won't come back for another card next time.
That's exactly what happened with the 5070 back in the day, 5070, 5070 XT. Those things sold a bunch. It was a great deal, but then the drivers were so bad that Reddit forums were full of people just saying, I'm never buying AMD again. I've been having black screens for days.
I mean, it happened with the original Radeons. It happened with the Radeon XTs. Like it has happened multiple times over the last 20 years. And this is why it's hard to compete with a company that's 20 times your size, is because they're going to just throw people at it. Nvidia and AMD has to be strategic. So,
but are we?
I will say that their drivers have gotten a lot better in recent years. Like whenever they started making Radeon Technologies Group, so it's been like 5 or 6 years now. They are much better than they have been. I think Nvidia still does have that relentless pacing down. And in the briefing with journalists, based all their machine learning and internal testing metrics, they were saying this is going to be the most stable Radeon software release going along with this. But you won't know for sure until it hits the fan, hits the ground, see what's actually going on in people's computers. But they seem confident that the initial drivers will be all right at least.
okay.
Yeah, so that was my question actually, and Brad just addressed it, which was, with the strides they've actively made in recent years, like on a scale, like how worried are we about the drivers really at this point? Because I know, don't get me wrong, very not ideal, shall we say, in the past, but we also have given praise for where they've made strides since then.
Yeah. The problem is it's not something like, even if this first driver comes out and it is rock solid, it's an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
That's what they need to improve at. The pacing of it, the continued stability of it. So I don't think we can have that answer on day one.
Like the worst, one of the worst feelings is you're excited about a new game coming out. You buy the game, you spend $60 on the game, you download the game, you fire it up, and then something's broken, and it's like, hey, it's not the game that's broken, it's your video card drivers, and that's like,
It's just me. I'm broken on the
I
inside.
mean, sorry, I didn't want to say something, but
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So more to see. We will see. I mean, either way, I bet they sell out. Right. I bet people are. There might even be people trying to scalp them.
There's demand in the marketplace for GPUs right
Yeah.
now, especially at this price range.
So guess what?
I hope they have enough stock that they don't sell out for like half an hour, so that people who have been looking and striving actually have a chance to.
Oh, half an hour at 6 a.m. Thanks.
Look, you should live on
Screw
the
over
East
the
Coast.
West. I know. Yeah.
Move to the best coast.
Yeah, it's,
That's the
West
Coast.
No,
We're there.
Don't do hand
We can
signs
wear
for yourself.
t-shirts in winter, Brad.
Yeah.
Touche.
Yeah.
Yeah. Touche.
Hey, I'm wearing my heavy coat right now, Brad.
Yeah.
It's a hoodie.
Yeah. So right now, Raphael says the question is the price. Once again, we'll just have to see at launch. Either way, it's going to sell out. It's going to be bad, which is why I think, hey, you know what? Just wait. It's also good to just wait. Sometimes you just wait, let all this stuff kind of settle.
Adam, I want it right now.
I know.
Now.
It's fine. It's
Sorry,
fine.
that was very loud.
I
apologize.
do like this timing though, because you don't actually have to wait as long to make an informed decision.
That's true.
So even though as miserable as it's been for the reviewers, huge props to Adam and Brad. It is good for consumers when it's a tighter cluster like this, because you can make your choice and not worry that you're making an uninformed choice or regret it later.
Yeah.
I would say that we know the Radeon cards are launching the day after 5070.
Mhm.
I would not rush out to buy a 5070 if I did not know what the 9070s did, because there's enough differences with the extra RAM. It's only coming out a day later. Like, this is a spot where I'd wait and see until I saw everything out there.
I mean, to tell you the truth, the thing I'm most excited about is to try out RT, because that has always been the Achilles heel, I think, of Radeon. Is like, hey, if you love raster and you get the price for performance, all that stuff has been a really good story for sure. But the caveat when trying to recommend to somebody was always like, okay, well, but do you care about ray tracing? Because that's just somewhere where they haven't focused on, and now they're focusing on it. They're coming out and saying, hey, you know what? This is a focus for us. So I'm excited, and somebody who loves ray tracing, I'm excited. Yeah. So anyway,
Wait.
yes.
Is
Poll?
this where we make some kind of pun about a heel turn?
Yeah.
Achilles heel
John
turn?
Cena's feet. Tune into the pre-show
Wait,
for that one.
hold on. Is he on WikiFeet? Let me go.
Oh
look.
no!
Oh
please
no!
don't. We
Will,
got
why did
firewalls
you
for
have
that.
to?
What?
Why?
We got firewalls for that, man. I do want
Look up my
to
phone
Willis
real
close the poll. So this is actually pretty surprising. 160 votes on the poll of which GPU do you want when you're looking to buy. Do you want an AIB model or do you want a Founders Edition /reference? I thought going into this that the Founders Edition / reference would be the highest percentage. It is not. The AIB is 44%. Founders Edition / reference is 30%. So
There's a third option. There's a third option.
well, but that's that doesn't.
I'm curious.
I know,
though,
like I
how
understand
many
you put it there,
people-
but I think it's more like if you're looking to buy a GPU, you're looking at for one or the other. Neither shouldn't have been in there.
Well,
but
that's what
it's
I
fine.
was wondering, if people who answered neither actually meant either, like they don't care. or if they actually are not in the market to buy.
Oh, good
I
point.
I feel like that
probably-
wasn't clear to me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
feels
So
like
if
not
people
the
are
market.
who responded to the poll with neither are in the chat still, if you could let us know which way you were interpreting that word, that'd be really interesting for us to know.
Can we get
Yeah,
another poll
I'm
only for the people who answered neither? And
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, man, I love Founders Edition designs, but usually I would opt for a third-party card if it's not too crazy because I like the bigger coolers and how quiet they can get. So.
yeah,
Yes,
I
definitely.
miss my Frozer, my 1080 Ti Frozer.
Well, and hey,
Oh,
a
those are
lot
good.
of it
Yeah,
is better
it's thick.
than I was like so excited. I was like Titans were the huge thing back in the day, and then I tap on it and I was like, oh, this is just a plastic
That has
shroud.
a DVI port on it
Yeah.
still, man. That card is ancient.
Yeah, DVI, man.
Dude,
You don't like
Wow.
DVI?
I-
What's wrong with DVI?
I remember the transition to backplates becoming just standard on cards. And
Yeah.
I to this day, every time I touch one, I'm just like, what is this luxury?
I know you
And I
can.
remember
I
having
can.
to hold like expensive cards gingerly
I'm
because I
touching
was
the
so
V right
worried.
now.
You can touch that.
Yeah,
Just don't touch the
exactly.
gold part.
I was
This
so
one?
worried
Yeah.
about accidentally shocking something because sometimes I tend to be a little bit staticky.
I got to say I was testing something last week. I ended up, when I was doing the Fortnite testing, actually, I swapped a bunch of cards in and out, and all of the cards had the DisplayPort cables oriented the same direction, except for I think the 5070. The 5070, they're the other way.
Oh, like
So I had to twist the cable to get it. I was perturbed.
yeah.
It's a real problem that normal people are going to face.
Speaking of which,
Yeah.
if the video we had in embargo was you did a custom benchmark for Fortnite, which
Yeah.
we've been talking a lot about benchmarking. How do we benchmark in the future? All this kind of stuff. How do we benchmark games that don't have built-in benchmarks? All this kind of stuff. You are a capital P professional in Fortnite.
Look, I have several crowned victory royales. That means I won or stole a crown from somebody, and then I won again
Wow.
while I was holding a crown.
That sounds impressive. I'm
look,
very shocked.
When I
to hear this.
when I chaperoned one of my daughter's field trips last year, and I told some of the fifth graders that I had 250 crown victory royales that season, they were extremely impressed. Fifth graders, they're scary.
Cool dad.
Yeah.
Cool dad.
Wait, so this video was for those fifth graders?
No.
Oh.
No, I didn't do any mewing or whatever that is. I didn't skibbity anything. I didn't.
But you
Oh,
got the
no.
Riz.
No cap, though.
You
No
got
cap.
the Riz.
no cap.
Yeah.
These cards are fine for
What up,
Fortnite.
fellow kids? No, good video. But you also gave us a math lesson on how to determine frame rates with
We
frame
inverted
times and all that
frame
stuff.
times to frame rates.
It was the math did not work on me, but
Well,
I believed you.
So the interesting thing, and I want to dig into this more because the Fortnite numbers are weird. This was recorded. They just flipped seasons. So usually when Fortnite updates from one season to another, they do a minor point revision. They often do a minor point revision on the engine. So sometimes perf is a little janky the first couple of weeks of the new season. But this was the end of the last season, which should have been pretty stable. There's a huge delta in average frame rates and 1% on Fortnite right now. And this was I used settings recommended by the Fortnite community on Reddit. That's like hey, here's how to reduce microstutter. And still like the delta on a 5090 from the average frame rate of 350 frames a second down to the 1%, which was 204, is like 58%. It is crazy. That is a way bigger than in any of the other benchmarks we use.
Yeah.
Which is like, this is kind of why I wanted to test some games that people actually play. No knock against like Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
I don't know anybody who plays Fortnite except for you.
Well,
Sorry.
Look, it is one of the more popular games in the world. People play it all the time. It is played a lot on consoles. It's played a lot on
Look
I
on
guess
Brad's face and my face is great right now. Like they match.
iOS phones,
You
whatever.
don't know anybody who plays Fortnite. You're out of your damn mind.
and Brad, as the boss,
Look.
can just say exactly what's on his mind.
Adam, so many people play Fortnite that when you load up the game, they actually tell you how many people are in the game at that moment.
Do you believe them?
I mean, you have to decide to believe something at the end of the day. So anyway, yeah, the numbers are interesting. The TLDR is if you play on reasonable settings, you can get decent 4K perf even out of the 5070 in a game like Fortnite. The delta between the average frame and the 1% frames is worrisome across the board. I didn't get into it for the video because like.
Oh, it was fun though. Like it definitely like we're trying out new things around here. We're experimenting. It was a fun one.
Yeah.
I liked it.
I would love to know if people have. So I don't think Call of Duty. The reason that we were able to do this, just to be clear, is Fortnite has a demo recording feature. So you play a game and it records in the background everything that happens in like everything that your client sees while you're playing the game. And then when you can load that up and replay it, and you can time your starts, which I know we don't generally like doing, but given that there's clear countdowns and stuff like that, we figured it was okay, and I was able to get it fairly repeatable. So I'm interested to see what people think and if they'd like us to look at some other games as well, because I want to dig into the micro stutter in Fortnite, and I'm also into like I'll do Apex or PUBG or whatever.
Well, it's also real nice to have somebody who knows. Yeah, I mean, you follow. I joke, but I mean, like, you do follow that scene. You do play it a lot. You do know a lot of people's concerns with performance and all that kind of stuff. So, like, you digging into that performance specifically is like gravely beneficial than me, who doesn't know that kind of stuff either.
Well, and the thing I will say is that, like, being able to play at 4K and have pretty stable frame rate above the refresh rate of my monitor, it turns out pretty compelling. You don't want to have frame lag when you're in the middle of a huge fight, it turns out. And I don't know, we'll see. But so that benchmark is done, because every time they update the game, the old demos stop being usable, which we knew was going to happen.
Yeah.
But
which was unfortunate timing for other reasons, but yeah.
I mean, but we'll do it again. So, like, it's like a day of testing, so we can do it again if people are interested in
what we always say right here.
Cards. Always be testing.
Always be testing.
Yeah, it's always been the motto here.
Never stop testing. No, it's always be testing. Anyway,
I used to test League of Legends and Dota 2 on entry level esports kind of cards back in the day. Using that exact same kind of feature, they had the replays you can get, so you can go grab like the big esports teams and actually run the replays.
Oh, you can.
That's awesome.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then it runs right on your thing, and you can benchmark those. You still got to do it manually, but when the start is, like when the staying.
Interesting. Oh, I didn't know that.
Those games my understanding is that those games these days are pretty CPU bound, but I don't know if that's still the case. I haven't.
Maybe it'd be good for CPU testing.
Yeah, I mean, for a week or two.
Yeah, we'll see.
When I was doing it, there was like an AMD card that was like the 560. Like, instead of a 580, there was a 560 for like $130. So I was just running some esports games on it.
Interesting. All right. Well, we got to get out of here. So let's get to the Q&A section. If you have a question right now, get it in real quick, or just hurriedly. Question at the Full Nerd Podcast. Easier for us to see it if you're watching this right now. Or if you're watching or listening to this later, you can always go over to the link in our description and go over to our Discord. There's a link, or there's a channel in there for Full Nerd questions. Really good questions. And guess what? A lot of them recently have been about, surprise, surprise, GPUs.
Wow, this is my surprise face.
Yeah. So let me get over here. Friend of the show, very sneaky. As even if the stock situation on GPUs eased up to a normal supply situation, there's no guarantee that price will be sane, is it? I don't know what they mean by sane, but I think they mean hitting the MSRPs.
I thought it was a Cypress Hill thing, if I'm being honest.
Insane in the membrane. I did not steal
I'm
that.
going to see them this summer.
Really?
Ooh, I'm trying to get me some Wu-Tang and Run the Jewels tickets too, but they are very expensive.
Yeah.
But
nice.
I think that if stock gets normalized, I would expect to see cards at MSRP. I don't think we're going to be in an era where you can pick up a year-old card for significantly less than MSRP for a while. I think what we can hope for is MSRP.
The one thing I will say is I think 40 series car, like, in the same way that I would have recommended against buying a used 2080 or even 3080 class card, I think a used 40 series card is probably pretty safe. Maybe ask if the person who's selling it did a bunch of AI business, but it seems like the AI business people aren't selling their old cards, so you're probably good.
Here's a good question from QH, a friend of the show, QH Freddy. Do you think it would have benefited AMD to tweak the RDNA 4 review, meaning the 9000 series, NDA, to let reviewers put the 9000 series numbers in the 5070 reviews? So essentially, not launch after the 5070, but launch before, because right now all of our 5070 numbers don't have comparisons.
You know how at the start of a football game they flip a coin?
Mm-hmm.
And then the team that wins the flip always takes the ball at the start of the second half.
They get
the ball first to last.
Yeah.
I think that's what happens here.
Okay, Brad, better answer.
That's actually a pretty
Better.
good answer. I think the answer to that will depend on what we see in 9070 reviews.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Spoilers. This is a good one from a friend of the show, Great Mighty Daddy. I have a specific question regarding some of the RTX 5000 series cable melting issues. I thought I read or saw that in some cases, connectors were melting on the card side and the power supply side. Is this a feature that can be backported to the 4000 series? I thought I only remembered connectors melting on the card side with the 4000 series. If not, this may be another reason to upgrade to a 5000 series GPU. No, I don't think this is a intentional feature to have it melt on both your GPU side and the power supply side.
I like how it's called backported.
Yeah.
It's so polite. Maybe legitimizes it a little too much.
Yeah.
I mean, what if you just bought a power supply that was connected to your video card? Like when you buy a video card, it just has the power supply permanently connected to it. You have to just route the cable through your case.
No.
What if?
Actually,
What if?
Hear me out. What if you could buy a standing desk that's just a big ass key charger, however you pronounce it,
Oh,
and then
man.
oh, sorry, I'm sick. I'm
Gee.
just cussing left and right.
Yeah.
But then
It's
you just
hopped up
have
on
your
goofballs, ladies and
graphics
gentlemen.
card sitting on the table and it runs by itself.
There we go. I like
Yeah.
that. It's just all that power through the air. Also, real quick, have we seen any, like, I know the 5090 stuff and we know the 4090 stuff. Has there been any reports of anything other than a 5090 in the 50 series stack, like a 5080 melting?
I only saw 5090 stuff.
I think it was mostly 5090. I haven't been following this super closely.
Yeah.
I don't know
I think
why.
it's still fairly rare. Like it's the same as the last time the 40s. It's a bummer that this happened twice now. And I think Nvidia should maybe look at its cable design going forward, like devote an extra 1 or 2 engineers there for this.
It's the third
6,000
rev. They've revved it 3 times. And each 2 of the 3 have been stinkers.
Which,
But
yeah.
They are sinkers, but I think it's a very small percentage of people. So if you're able to get a 50 series card and you want to buy a 50 series card, I wouldn't be worried about that. And if it does wind up happening, you'll get it replaced.
well, and yeah, so this 5070 Founders Edition has the 12 volt 2x6. I've seen other reviews of the Asus Prime, also has the 12 volt 2x6. So, I mean, yeah, just if you don't realize, I think one of the things is like, hey, make sure it's fully seated, yada yada, all that kind of stuff. But also, if you're running at a 5070 class card, you have overhead, where one of the major problems with the 5090 is that you have almost zero overhead.
If you get to the point that you're drawing 600 watts on a 5070, you've done some real business, and probably there's nothing that can save you.
Yeah.
Business.
Yeah.
Air quotes.
Well, here's a good follow-up question then from friend of the show, Ivan R. Since the 12-volt high-power connector has reached the Radeon camp, do you think the outrage melting drama will die out? Or has Radeon betrayed gamers?
Wait, they put in 12 volt high power on the Radeon
There
cards?
is a Sapphire, not Pulse, what's their high-end?
Oh man, I love Sapphire cards.
Nitro, yeah. There's a Nitro Plus that somebody showed off in a video that has a 12 volt 2x6 connection. Interestingly enough, it's actually underneath a plate as well. So the plug is
keep the
essentially
flames in there?
Yeah. So essentially it plugs in here and then it routes out kind of this way, kind of like BTF almost, and then it has
that's
a plate that goes over it. So it is a good question though, because now that AMD has it, because everyone was like, oh yeah, thank AMD, they're not taking this stupid design. Now is everyone going to start to say, oh, now that AMD has it, we like it. It's a good feature.
I don't think anybody's going to get on that train.
I
could
think
be
that
wrong.
depends also on how flammable the cards are.
Inflammable,
Right? 'Cause I
right?
honestly, I mean, real talk, nobody really cares that much about connectors if they work
Look,
and they don't start firing.
Correct.
Elena, I assure you that some people really hate any form of change whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like that, I think
Okay,
fundamentally.
well, you don't have to call me out like that publicly.
Look, I'm just saying, change is really scary and new things are bad always by default universally.
Did they say
AMD did say that their standard is the standard 8-pin power cables, though.
Yeah.
So,
Oh.
like, it just because Sapphire opted to use that on their particular model there doesn't mean it's a universal thing for AMD. AMD is very much 8-pin power connector. That being said, I do think that once these ongoing bugs get worked out, I expect this to be the standard for graphics cards, maybe starting next generation.
Real quick, I can't find your article again. It's buried. Did AMD announce the TGPs of these cards?
Yeah, one sec.
While Brad is doing that,
304 for the bigger one.
Okay.
I think 220 for the 970. Let me see. I gotta find it.
Yeah, sorry. I'm trying to
220 and 304. Total board power, not total graphics
Oh,
power.
okay. Oh, and actually, yeah. So this the Sapphire Nitro Plus RX 9070 XT, the one with the 12-volt 2x6, they're listing on their website the power consumption is 330 watt typical board power. So that is equivalent to a not a 5090. So there will be overhead.
I mean, look, I think it's inevitable that the more convenient design is going to win out, right? If you think about it, like we're talking about a business where people are like, oh man, this component cost a half a cent more than the other. We're gonna go with the half cent cheaper one, even though the other one's a lot better. Having to ship an adapter or four cables or whatever it is that they have to do is always gonna cost more than having the one simpler cable. So it's just a matter of, can we do it without burning people's houses down?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brad.
Oh, too soon. A couple more questions here from the chat. Friend of the show, Coffee asks, what's the most interesting or unexpected PC building trend of 2025 so far? Only 2 months in.
Do we have trends? I mean, the big trend I have is that everybody's angry. Seems
AI.
angrier.
No, that's
all
not
the
a trend.
time.
That's not a trend.
No, that's.
I mean, is that a trend for 2025?
Yeah.
If it's ongoing?
I feel like the anger has ratcheted up. I think something has angried up people's blood a lot.
I'm gonna just hijack this thread real quick though,
Yeah,
because I want to get the power of the people on my side here.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna peer pressure, populist pressure you into this, Adam.
Okay.
I have been
I don't want to get an
proposing-
iPhone. No, sorry.
No, I've been proposing that we do another at least paper build challenge because I think it'd be really interesting to discuss the state of PC building, given all the stuff we talked about with GPUs, like the fact that everyone's so upset, right? Like really look at the nuts and bolts and the reality of what people are facing when they're trying to either upgrade their rig or build a new one right now. And then it'd actually be interesting. I mean, I was going to try to do it now before the tariffs hit, but I think it'd be interesting even regardless after that hits too, because that's going to add a whole other layer to it.
What if we go down to Micro Center and just
just tried to do nothing but you know what, that's going to be, I'm going to pitch this to my editor where I'm going to see what I can build with only in-store Micro Center deals when it opens. How do you feel about that, boss?
That's a good one.
Sounds fun to me. To me, I think the bad trend so far to start the year is the complete unavailability of high-end graphics cards. But the good trend is monitors are getting even more badass. As you guys were just saying, the last couple of years has been an explosion in speeds, in panel quality, in technology types. And from everything we've seen at CES this year, it's only going to be getting better. So that's actually a trend I'm really excited about.
100% agree on that, Brad. And I think, it's funny, I was talking to a friend the other day who has a machine that has a 4080 or 4090, and I can't remember. And he's like, should I buy one of these new cards? I was like, no.
Guess what? The 4090 is still the second best graphics card you can get out there.
Yeah, well, and the answer has almost always been, hey, skipping it feels bad because the generations are getting longer, but the answer has always been buy every other or every third generation, right? Like if you have $1,000 burning a hole in your pocket right now, buy one of these 28-inch OLED monitors that run at 240 hertz, and it's going to change your life. I mean, they're freaking incredible.
They're pretty.
Yeah. Sometimes at night I get up when I like have to pee in the middle of the night. I get up and I come in and I just look at him like, hey, I like you. You're good.
Oh, you turn on
back to bed.
Oh, you turn on pisser.
Oh no.
Oh no, I don't have a PS5 hooked up to it. I'm not going to besmirch it.
All right, a couple more questions and we'll get out of here.
Those black levels are so good,
dude. Yeah, well now it's making me look at my
everything else looks like
priced
garbage.
$1,000 TV and be like,
garbage.
Well, crap, it's not as good as this monitor.
Nope, it's garbage.
Yeah. Usually I play in the living room, but now I'm having to shunt myself to the office.
Alone. This is how it begins.
Like I told Lindsay, I was like, hey, I'm gonna go play in the office. She's like, what? You usually just play on the TV. And I was like, yeah, but this monitor. She's like, what?
My wife's like, why are you not just sitting on the couch on the Steam Deck like you usually? It's like, well, come look at this for a minute. She's like, wow.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. We'll get through these real quick. PS1 Freak. I noticed some competitive shooters have a multi-frame gen. Why are they putting these in games if it increases latency? Is there a hidden benefit? Technical note, multi-frame gen doesn't increase latency, it just maintains latency at the base frame rate. So
sometimes there's latency, it adds latency on certain frames.
Yeah.
I would not turn on multi-frame gen on competitive games.
Well, I would say, because actually I did try that in Call of Duty. I did play. Yeah, I'm playing on a game. So here's the joke. I did try to play some competitive shooters or some games. I didn't end up getting around to doing a DLSS4 video on the 5070, but that was one of the big questions for this card. Was like, okay, well, how does multi-frame gen work with the lowest end of the stack? Maybe I'll get around to doing the video later when we have time. But I did play a couple competitive shooters with it on, like Call of Duty, because I just want to know. I think we got a little.
Was that an earthquake?
I think it felt a little earthquake.
See when Elena feels it.
Yeah. Did you notice anything? No.
No, nothing yet.
I didn't feel that.
Anyway,
y'all are crazy living in California.
I know, right,
but continue.
No, you know what though? I will take this over hurricanes or tornadoes any day, Brad.
Look, I'll take this over a half inch of snow. Like, no, thank you.
So here's the thing. For me, I'm not competitive at all. I know it's stupid. I know it's weird, but yeah, for me, like playing Call of Duty, if I win, if I lose, if my kill to death ratio is what's a bad kill to death ratio? I don't know.
Under one.
Yeah, there we go. Under one. If it's under one, I don't care. I walk away and I'm like, cool. I had fun playing some Call of Duty. I got to shoot some guns. So playing with
you're all about the participant badge.
Yeah. We cleared this up earlier. I am average.
Yeah, millennials.
I'm okay being average.
I was there.
Having to play with Adam during the pandemic, I can attest to that. Yeah, you're not that competitive compared to our other colleagues.
Our other colleagues
who will be not named.
Yeah, don't out
everybody
anybody as a sweaty gamer.
So I would say why they're putting it in there is not because it's a hidden benefit. It's because, well, I think there's a couple reasons. People like me, like I was able to use it, and because I don't care about my averages or whatever, I got to enjoy it still. But I also think, unfortunately, on the other side, there is talks of like, ooh, are they going to are developers going to, lean on multi-frame gen to try to get frame rates up when base frame rates are bad? I don't know. That's why we've always said from day one, you have to dial in your base frame rate to where you want it, and then multi-frame gen is just the icing on top of the cake to get you to higher refresh rates. You should always still, get where you want to without multi-frame gen. So for shooters, I don't know why they're putting in there other than, or the other reason could be Nvidia says, hey, why don't you put this in Call of Duty? I don't know. Brad, what do you think?
I like that it's there as an option. I am competitive, not like crazy, sweaty, try-hard competitive, but I play a lot of shooters, and I like to try to increase my frame rate so my responsiveness improves so I can nail better shots. I, like Will, would never turn that on in a competitive game. But the majority of my friends, even the ones I play Call of Duty with and other games, they're not like that. They just want it to look good, and they want to have some fun while they're drinking beers and we're sitting there playing Call of Duty. And so in that case, it's great to have a technology like this that is transformative.
Look, I love it too, because it means that those people are going to have extra latency when they're trying to get sick flicks and nail those headshots.
Yeah.
Well, so turn it on, baby.
Exactly.
It's like Christmas noobs every day.
Yeah.
Years ago, when I had like 6 months where I was really into League, my role was being a feeder. And if you've played League, you know that. Yeah,
that's not. Everyone, don't stop feeding, bro.
I know everyone would yell at me, like, "Dude, you're feeding them," and I'm like, "Oh, it's okay. It's fine.
Everybody's got to eat.
They need a little help too."
No,
Adam.
So I'm not competitive. I just play games. Anyway, a couple more, then we'll get out of here.
Were you jungling bad, or where were you feeding? You can mess up the whole game.
In the lane, I was support. I was feeding with support.
Can't believe this. If I'd known this, I would never have come in here.
B lane.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Anyway, I have one more that I want to get to. Here we go. and then we'll get out of here. There's so many good questions. We'll get to more later. Friend of the show, Very Sneaky, asked, after the 1080 Ti, I like how he's assuming, it'll be AM4. Will AM4 be considered for the Hall of Fame?
Oh.
Which we will have a Hall of Fame episode this summer. I can guarantee.
Do we only
that.
get to do one Hall of Fame entry a year? Is that how this works?
No. We have each of us
Categories.
Yeah, we do categories. Well,
Okay.
and I think we do like 3.
No, we
Oh, we
did
did-
three,
well,
I think.
Yeah, we.
And then they
we
end
do
up
a
falling
handful.
kind of in a category. So you
Yeah.
get 3, but we all bring like a couple.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
can't
Yeah,
remember.
we
I'd have to
debate a
go
lot.
back. Yeah, it's been a while, but 1080 Ti, everyone knows where we sit on that stuff.
It's fine.
Though I know you're going to argue against it,
It's
like
fine.
Gordon.
Look, I'll wave the Gordon flag
see.
for that one.
But AM4, I still think is too new.
Well, remember, I think our general guideline has been that it should be something that's actually end of life.
I'd have to go back and watch.
I managed to sneak in the Raspberry Pi when it was still a new thing and before all the rules kind of got jumped. Well, let's just put it this way. A lot of the rules got set because of me.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
Gordon would always be like,
Oh,
well, this is why we have rules because of.
because we live in a society.
Because I may be sometimes internally just a gigantic chaos gremlin.
Huh.
Elena's also competitive.
Yes, very. Anyway, cool. I think we're going to end with that question because we need to get. Oh no, sorry. One last question, just a fun one. Friend of the show, Cause MC says, asks, since Adam Patrick Murray ravaged Circuit City, I just literally was just.
Can't believe
I had
it.
my Jenko jeans and I was just
How
shoving
many-
in CDs left and
filling
right.
them
Yeah, I just.
with
no, I'm
How
just
many
Jewel
new metal
faces.
CDs can you pack in a pair of Jenkos? The Patrick
Yeah.
Smith challenge.
Patrick
with making
Smith.
no noise.
Patrick Murray.
Wow, you just.
I'm just tired.
Yeah.
I woke up really early this morning.
The question is, would you also download a car?
I mean, oh man, I'm
I
not
know,
wearing.
you're not wearing the shirt.
I'm
Yeah.
not wearing the shirt.
I was hoping
today.
you
Dang
were
it.
wearing a shirt. Yeah.
I
No.
downloaded a T-shirt.
I
I download a car.
Listen. If we ever, that actually would be funny. Hey, I downloaded cars and video games.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk to me something. Have I talked about my big heist days?
No.
I've definitely stolen.
Oh no,
Oh my
Adam.
gosh,
Actually,
you
I
really
was-
were waiting
Adam
for
is
the
not a
statute
role
of
model.
limitations.
The very first thing I ever stole and
You're the
got
Charles Barkley of this show.
I
You
got
realize
busted.
that.
I got busted because I stole an 8-pack of AA batteries and a Cadbury egg. I think did I talk about this last week?
This is the why
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
no.
It was great.
I mean,
We're
the
learning
double
that Adam's a
batteries.
klepto.
They
Yeah.
let me go. They let me go.
The
So,
second time he stole an onion and a pair of nail clippers.
Yeah, he
Actually, I
was
do
tying
need
the
to
onion
try
on
those.
his belt, which was the style at the time.
I've heard
Is
a
it
lot
also
more.
because this happened in a different state and they can't extradite you across state lines?
I was a klepto. Lewis Law says yes. I definitely had. I stole. Yeah, I'll tell the story one day. Statute of limitations is up.
What were you rebelling against, Adam? That's the question I really want
The
to
man.
know. Oh boy.
Okay.
Oh
Anyway.
man.
He's sticking it to the
Yeah,
man.
I'm gonna stick it to the man and get us out of here. Check back next week for your fix of PC Talk here on the Full Nerd. I said that very aggressively, and then I
I'm
paused.
scared.
Dramatic pause.
It was a pregnant pause.
Yes. To listen to us on the go, subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, YouTube Music, Pocket Casts, any of those services. Hopefully you should be able to search us up on, and if we're not on there, just let us know and we'll get us on.
Yeah, I'll
there.
get us. I can get.
He's got a guy.
Anywhere.
He's
I
got
know
a guy. And if you're on one of the if you're on one of those services, please leave a review, thumbs up, star rating, a worded comment. A strongly worded comment would be appreciated.
Gently.
Every time you do,
Positively
Biohazard
worded.
comes out with a new album, and I get to go to Circuit City and steal it.
Oh my
just kidding.
gosh.
I don't even know if they're still around.
This
Anyway,
Assuming Circuit City is
gone.
dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, okay.
Last time I was there, they just had room after room of Guitar Hero controllers.
Ooh. No, see,
So
actually,
many
I wish I
rooms.
would have stole one of those right now. I wish I had one of those.
Oh.
Anyway, thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, the co-hostess with the mostest, Brad Charkis, for coming on, even though you're still feeling a little under the weather.
Yeah, my pleasure. Show must go on. Adios, y'all.
Love it. Thank you, Elena, for coming on as well. Yes, and I like your Micro Center idea. We need to do this. We'll talk to
All
our
right,
guy.
I also have a business proposal where we create a standing desk that doesn't just have the charger, but it lays out every piece of your build individually under glass or something, so you can just see it while you're working. I think it'd be beautiful.
I think I've seen those desks. Those
Elena,
desk builds, yeah.
Back in the olden days, there was a magazine called Maximum PC. At the last page, there was a section called Rig of the Month, and we featured many PCs that people built in a completely unupgradable way into the top of their desk, and then they'd have a big sheet of plexiglass on top so they could look at it.
Yeah, but I want it standardized so that way you could swap out components if you wanted to.
I think Thermaltake
And I don't
made
have
one.
to do any. I
I
don't
think
have a
it's Lee and Lee.
garage.
Oh,
Remember,
really?
I don't have a garage. I can't be out there with like a power tool set.
Just do it,
creating
just
a
do it in your
desk.
living room. You know, you got to make
Oh, Lord.
sacrifices, Elena. Can't make
My
omelets
neighbors
without breaking
are
some
gonna
eggs.
murder me.
Yeah, so Leanne Lee has a
Yeah.
DK07, DK05, DK04.
But is it? That's
There was
metal.
a
I
great
want it
one
like.
before Leanne Lee got into it from a group that's now defunct called Red Harbinger, I believe their name was. I did a nice feature on, and it was like professional modders who were doing it.
Yeah.
What I say is, you
I'm
should
saying
just
it's a new business
Look.
idea. I just want another rendition of it.
Well, I'm
because
gonna
I
buy.
have a
I'm gonna buy
feeling-
you one
yeah.
with the beard and send it to you.
Here's the
Just
thing.
ship it to me.
If you have a drill and some motherboard standoffs, you can just put it up on the underside of your PC, of your desk. Just screw it right in there. You don't need a case.
Here we go. Here's a story idea. We go to
Yeah.
IKEA and
no.
we just screw motherboard
What have I
stands
started?
off.
What have I done? All right, you know what? It's time to end the show.
I like
Goodbye,
this.
everybody.
I like
Thanks
this.
for
This is a
listening.
great
You know who needs to take us out of here?
Don't forget Will.
What about
Will?
me?
Forget
No,
Will.
no, I'm. Oh.
I'm just
okay.
sitting here. What am I?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sliced
yeah, there's
cheese?
Will. Everybody knows Will. You know, everybody's. Yeah, he's a
Will,
guy.
the writer of the
Yeah.
best newsletters.
Thank you, Elena. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a newsletter at
Next.content.town.
Yeah,
You should pan
What?
that left and right. You should pan me left, him right.
yeah.
And then we say 3, 2, 1. Next.content.town.
Yeah, exactly. You can't do that over the internet. You can only get that if you're in person. That's the kind of drift compatibility.
Yeah,
You need a banner here.
It's actually like, just to be serious for a moment, I love what you're doing there, and
thanks,
people should
man.
go check it out because you're doing cool stuff, dude.
That's awesome. Thanks, Brad.
Also, I guess you have a bunch of Royale dinners. Is that what is the Chicken
Victory
Royale dinners?
Royales. Yeah.
Now I want a chicken
Hey,
sandwich.
Grandpa.
Yeah.
Man, I would totally go for a chicken sandwich.
Oh man. Is it,
Brad's making the right face there.
yeah. Anyway, Will, let's get us out of here.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Just real quick, I just want to just let everyone know on stream now that I do not have any involvement with or knowledge of Adam Patrick Murray's actions and whatsoever that he's done in the past.
But you do love John Cena's feet.
Well,
I love
that's a
John
really
Cena's feet, yes. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Good luck. Wait for my heel turn.
I think you had it today, dude.